What episode is it?
77.
Welcome to GuardianCast, episode 77. Today, we talk sandbox changes, Borderlands 3, and Eddie has a box of Cheetos under his bed. Why? Stay tuned.
In honor of episode 77, Bungie's actually releasing that 7th chest in the Vault of Glass, just so you guys know. So, go back to
Didn't
Destiny
we
1.
technically get it?
What? Yeah, we did.
In the Whisper mission?
Yeah, we technically got it.
I think it's Wish 15.
Yeah, we're getting Wish 15, except that has nothing to do with number 7, so I don't know.
Well, it's like set. All right, listen, hear me out. So it's 7 plus 7, right? But 77 is one number. So 7 plus 7 plus 1 is 15.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Checks out, dude. It's like that movie, The Number 23, with Jim Carrey, where he's just like, everything's 23. When you walk down the sidewalk and you see 3 things, then you add 1 plus 1 plus 2, and it's 23. You know?
Rest.
And then he killed his whole family or something.
Yeah. That is how that movie went. Something like that.
Somebody died. That's all I remember.
All right, so we got a calendar of what to expect this season. Have you guys checked this out? And
yeah, I'm curious, but also I'm curious.
Curious about what?
I'm curious about the Vex offensive.
Yeah, me too.
I'm curious about momentum control. I'm very curious about momentum control.
Note about momentum control. So, do you know Tocom, the PvP dev? He tweeted out that momentum control is a PvP game mode that he made, and it's his final contribution to the PvP team before he moves on.
Yeah.
So another PvP dev, lifelong PvP dev, that's leaving the PvP team. And we're still getting no explanation for what the hell's going on over there.
Dude, I'm telling you, the PvP is just going to completely disintegrate, and we're going to it's all going to merge into Gambit. And we're just going to be shooting each other with fucking light machine guns. And it's going to be a wreck.
Fun. I'm also curious about the Vex offensive, but I'm more curious about the final assault thing because I have a bad feeling that it's going to be similar to like heroic mode of Menagerie, where they're just like, yeah, nobody's going to do this, so have fun with it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody check out the calendar. It breaks down like what comes with Shadowkeep, what comes with the season pass, what comes free to all players. Most of this stuff we already knew about, but now we have official dates for when everything's dropping, such as the new dungeon. The new dungeon sounds awesome.
Actually, a note on that. The final assault is probably going to be the final week of Vex offensive.
The what? It's
probably going to be the final week of it.
You mean they're going to take it out?
Yeah, they said that every season they're going to have another activity that it's going to only be there for that season.
Yeah, you're right.
And if you notice, the dates line up correctly because they said there's going to be 10 weeks in the season, and the next week would be the start or ending of that season.
So they're really expecting nobody to do it, or I guess they're expecting to try and compel people to do it by the fact that it'll be gone after a week.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, they want you to do these activities, and with Black Armory and Menagerie and all these things that they added into the game that no one ended up doing after so long, like Reckoning and whatnot, right? Like, they want to take those activities that no one's doing and take them out. And they did say it's further down the line, there will be a point where they may possibly bring these activities back, depending on how well they did.
Which is a fine philosophy, but I would rather them spend all that time just like adding to the core gameplay loop.
Yeah. I also have a note to make about the whole like broader discussion of, hey, we're running out of gigabyte space, so we have to take things out of the game. I wanted to say there's talking about how the game is going to be 165 gigabytes with Shadowkeep. Well, I took a look at the game itself right now, and it's 88 gigabytes, and I just have trouble believing that Shadowkeep is doubling the size of the whole vanilla game plus Forsaken. Like I don't think so. You know, I think that is a gross overestimate, and it's not going to be anywhere close to that when it actually launches. Because they said the same thing, like when Forsaken was coming out, they had this really high estimate of what it was supposed to be, and it didn't end up being that bad. So they might just be blowing it out of proportion a bit.
Maybe this is indicative of the amount of content that goes between them making this announcement and us actually playing.
Yeah,
True.
they're just doubling the amount of content in the game. I'm sure that that's the case.
And at some point, they do make a note about the future of Black Armory, like stuff about that. So it's very likely that they'll end up taking out Black Armory content, and just adding those weapons to say Banshee or something, like they've mentioned, and other TWABs. So it's possible that they will be removing stuff to insert stuff.
Yeah, you know,
well,
all of that's confusing, but the thing that's not confusing is that we're getting a new exotic bow. Hey, yeah.
Well, but also, like,
but it's a quest.
Think about this though, guys. So the Vex offensive, right? Reckoning shipped in such a bad state, as we all know. Nobody played it. Terrible rewards, terrible difficulty, everything. They just got around to fixing that now. So how the heck are they going to remove an activity in 3 months when it took them 6 months to patch the Reckoning? Like,
let's not say terrible rewards, because there's a whole bunch of people out there farming
the reward structure.
Right now.
No. Not the actual guns. The reward structure. The
structure of it's shit. Yeah, right. No, you're right.
So it took them 6 months to actually patch that. I just don't see this company moving fast enough. If there's a problem with Vex Offensive, it's going to ship that way. It's going to stay that way. It's going to leave that way. And they've shipped every activity in the game with at least one problem. So
that was also under Activision too. This is completely and solely them.
Yeah.
Come on, Activision doesn't develop the game. They can't be responsible for the bugs.
They can be responsible for pushing them in a manner that makes them create these bugs.
Yeah, but like they're being very vocal about the fact that they will not be pushed right now. They're like, yeah, we don't really want to work. Like too many hours on this thing, you know, like trying to get some sleep over here. And I get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think that it would be a fair or reasonable assumption to say that Bungie-owned Bungie is going to work at a faster pace.
Right.
No, not saying that at all. I'm just saying more efficient.
We can hope, but I don't think so. I think that is limited by the engine they're working on, the way that they work organizationally within the company. So I don't know, like, how much they've consolidated and made improvements to the process in that way.
Listen, I don't disagree with you guys, but someone's got to play devil's advocate for Bungie, you know? Like,
so we don't want your optimism.
Listen, you can shove it, sir. I want to believe, all right? Just like aliens, I want to believe. All right?
I'm dead. All right. But, like, let's talk about the important stuff.
Sure.
So spare rations.
Yeah, dude.
Not even close.
Here, 1 second. You guys can start the discussion on that.
Oh. I mean, listen. So we all knew that Ricochet rounds was the only reason the spare rations was like the god tier 150. You know, it's what made
same with the recluse too. Like, yeah, the Ricochet rounds on that thing, we made that thing a laser beam fucking, you know, shoot as far as you can type gun.
Yeah, it's insane. And it's Ricochet rounds on controller are especially insane because they just make the hitbox this like giant unmissable entity. Yeah. With that being just like nerfed to shit, the spare rations barely edges over 150s.
Yeah, I mean, people are gonna go back to Midnight Coups for sure.
I mean, I don't know. Midnight Coup has Ricochet too, doesn't it?
I don't think it does.
Oh, well, it's sticky as hell. I don't know if they're gonna go back to Midnight Coup. I think that Rose is gonna definitely be a more viable option. I think we're gonna see that because there doesn't seem to be like a huge incentive anymore to just like throw your entire life at this god rolled gun, because like the one perk that made it like outstanding, it's just not worth the time sunk anymore. IMO. I mean, Swashbuckler is still really good.
I mean, it still rolls with some pretty decent,
Still rolls really
stuff.
well.
What 150 though can outclass it now?
Nothing outclasses it.
Right.
But without Ricochet and without that range increase, it barely edges over the Rose, which is like basically a freebie and doesn't require you to like throw your life at the reckoning.
That's true. Right now though, I mean, I'm not really like going crazy over it, but I am farming for those resist mods anyway, so it's kind of a 2-for-1. If I happen to get a good spare rations, that'd be nice. But let me put it this way. I've played about 6 hours of Reckoning in total this week, farming, and I have not gotten a single spare rations to drop. Not even a bad one. 0.
That's shit RNG is what that is.
It should be, from the math I did, it should be about a 8 to 10% chance of getting a spare rations every single run.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing tier 2, then there's only 2 possible weapons, and
3.
It's like there's 2.
No, there's 3.
There's 3 for that and 5 for tier 3.
Yeah.
What's the third one?
The pulse and the SMG.
Oh, I didn't know the SMG could drop. I've never seen the SMG. I didn't even
I've gotten it probably 20 times.
The bug out bag, yeah.
Yeah, the bug out bag. And then if you do tier 3, it adds the grenade launcher and
shotgun, I think?
No, I don't have the infographic in front of me, but
there was one other one. I can't remember what it is.
Scout, I think, or something like that. I can't remember.
Might have been the Scout.
Auto rifle. It's an auto rifle. Positive of it. But anyway, so like basically if you do the math, it's a 1 in 4 drop chance of getting a drop in tier 3. Or I mean in tier 2. But the smaller loot pool of 3, so that's like an 8.3% chance of the spare rations. And then in tier 3, it's a 1 in 2 drop chance, but there's 5 in the loot pool, so that ends up being 10%. Theoretically, better chance in tier 3, but because the way RNG protection works in tier 2, you almost never go a full 4 runs without getting something, so it's like debatable. You know, honestly, it doesn't matter which one you do. If you want to get more loot in general, do tier 3. If you really don't want to see anything unless it's a spare rations, just do tier 2. It doesn't matter.
Unless it's you and you don't see spare rations at all.
Yeah, I've done about half and half, and I haven't seen one.
Yeah, that's so dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how it works, honestly. I'm surprised you haven't gotten one.
Hey, so a big change in this that I just want to point out that's kind of going under the radar is that in a way we're getting like a Slight Weapons 2.0 where the mods are getting turned into consumables, or I mean non-consumables, where you don't have to buy multiple copies of them anymore. You can just slot them in. That's gonna be nice.
Yeah, that will be
all mods are. Yeah, it's be great.
Because like right now, if I have a weapon that I use for PvP, I'm not ever like slotting in PvE mods for it. It's just locked in. Like I'm just gonna take the disadvantage, you know?
Yeah, it will be nice as long as you don't have to carry a copy of that in your consumables menu. You know?
I think right now you do, but then you won't.
Right. Once it's like locked in, like I think after October 1st, it'll save it. But for now, keep at least 1 copy of everything. If you have a big stacks of everything, though, you can break them down and just leave 1.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about these changes. Auto rifles, it's a PvE change, 30% or 25%. We should
probably start with the combatants, though, like the minor combatants. Like the fact that they were taking more precision damage than any other combatant is ridiculous, and they should have never had that be an issue in the first place.
Yeah, I don't really get why that was a thing, but
I don't either. It's very, very odd.
Yeah, so like that actually makes like a lot of these changes really confusing because for the minor combatants, I don't think we're actually going to see much of a difference. If you're using a precision weapon like a hand cannon, it's going to be like, okay, well, it was one shot before, it's one shot now. The body shot damage will be buffed, essentially, you know?
They didn't say it'd be buffed. They didn't say they were changing it at all. So
No, for most of the weapons, like almost every weapon got a PvE damage increase. So since they're reducing the precision modifier, and then buffing the overall damage, it's essentially a body shot buff, is what we're looking at for minors anyway.
Right.
So that's a confusing, weird change.
Yeah.
And also, it's going to make Recluse even more powerful, which is weird. Very, very weird. And like we were just talking about that spare rations nerf, like that was at the top of your list to nerf Ricochet, but then we get like grenade launchers and Recluse running around rampant, and they're just gonna stay.
Wasn't so much they were nerfing Ricochet. It just wasn't working as it intended. Like it was. True.
Yeah, they hid that perk in there. Yeah,
but it was in fact working as intended.
Right. And people found out about it and became popular. Like they wanted it to be like a niche thing no one really knew about. Was the intent.
With as many number of freaks as we have in the community, it wouldn't have happened very long.
Yeah. But then there's like another theory too that that some people are saying like the wording of it, like maybe they're not actually removing the bonus, but they're just going to display it now. I don't know.
Possible. The wording on all these things are, at least a lot of them are very odd, and then the way they're worded, it really is going to come down to what we see when it comes out. But
the counter argument is basically like, okay, well, there's like a lot of useless perks in the game, and without the range bonus, Ricochet rounds is another useless perk in the game. So,
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're one of those total crackheads that likes to shoot around corners, but
yeah,
it's not gonna. It's never been viable.
So anyway, auto rifles only getting a PvE buff. It's 30 and 25% depending on the rank. That's fine for PvE. But I still don't think they're going to be at the top of the meta or anything like that in PvE. I don't think the PvE meta is going to change much at all. We're still going to see Recluse Mountaintop in almost every scenario.
Yeah,
I don't know about MT anymore, dude. Not with the reload changes. I think there are going to be more efficient ways to melt bosses.
I don't think it's necessarily about bosses, though. I think it's going to be about, like, clearing ads, like you shoot it at a knight or, like, a yellow or an orange bar enemy and kill them, and then you can just, like, wipe out ads with the Recluse.
Well, see, even the thing is, like in Crown of Sorrow, like I'll sit there in a rift and just spam my mountaintop at the knights. Like that's not going to be a possibility now. Like, and so there will have to be some other weapons that are going to be a little bit more viable than mountaintop.
Yeah, I think range, like you don't need a one-shot kill to proc Recluse. I honestly think that Rampage primaries are going to be back in the meta.
I could see that for sure.
Rampage primaries or Swashbuckler primaries. I don't see any reason for Mountaintop to need to feel that primary void because it was great because it multitask. It was great for ad clear. It was great for boss damage.
Yeah.
Now, it's not really great for ad clear unless you're like a hunter with a dodge and you use it super specifically.
Yeah, it's going to be situational for sure.
Well, we also have to see like how much of an effect the new outlaw perk of the boots have on it, and Titan barricades too.
Yeah.
Because if that's still faster than like anything else, it might still be decent DPS, but we'll see.
It's going to be faster than a dodge. There's no way it's faster than a dodge.
Oh yeah, it's definitely faster than a dodge. Dodge animation takes longer than you think it does. It's just that you don't get shot at standing still while you're doing it.
Fair. Okay.
The problem with the dodge animation, it's not that the dodge is long. It's not a long animation, but
there's weapon ready speed and everything after that. Yeah.
Your weapon handling speed gets added to the length of the animation because you have to re-ready everything.
I didn't think about that. That's fair.
All right, so bows also getting PvE buff. I'm not going to get into the numbers. You can read the patch notes if you want the specific numbers on that. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference.
No, and realistically, it's all 25 to 30%. So regardless of what it is, it's basically that.
Hand cannons. This is like where things get weird. So they're getting a PvE damage buff of 30%. I'm assuming that's to compensate for the precision
Most likely
change, and that it'll be roughly the same because that's against minor enemies. Now, lightweight and adaptive hand cannons use a new firing animation while aiming down sights, and they say that this was because you could fire it faster than the visual animation could reset, and then effectively like be shooting with a lot of bloom and not realizing it necessarily. So this is supposed to like tell you when the gun is ready to fire, like give you like visual feedback on it.
It's just supposed to come down faster.
Okay.
Which is, it sounds like a good thing.
See, I was worried it was going to come down slower.
No.
So that you would know the gun isn't ready to fire yet, like the bloom hasn't reset.
No. This is just saying that this change was made to increase weapon accuracy when firing these weapons as fast as possible. They just wanted to be easier for us to see what we're shooting at, because we all know that with 140s and with 150s, the moment that you shoot, your reticle is not yet there. It's all about muscle memory with hand cannon.
Right.
It's all about muscle memory. And I like that. I think it adds a skill gap to hand cannons.
Yeah.
I think that it's like something unique about hand cannons. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. I guess it's going to be more accessible.
I know before these patch notes came out, they said that they were making a behind-the-scenes change to make console hand cannons feel more like Destiny 1, and I'm guessing this is what they were referring to.
Destiny 1 had the same recoil animation.
I don't. I'm just like, that's what they said. I have no idea. I'm just saying.
I don't know. We'll have to see. I would rather them have just left it alone and not reduce the range stat.
Yeah, so, and then this is another, like, confusing wording, because I've seen all over the community people have different takes on this. The exact wording is reduced the effect the range stat has on damage range fall off, quotes, effective range, for this weapon archetype. Now, the way I interpret that is that you'll be doing less damage at range, but that the range stat will still have the same effect on accuracy, so you won't like receive an accuracy nerf as a result of it. But
I'm reading that differently.
Okay.
I think that what they're trying to say, because they said all they mentioned was damage range fall off, right?
Right.
So they're not talking about the range of the weapon. You're still, as long as you are doing max damage, like you will be doing max damage. But once you hit like over the intended range of the hand cannon, the damage fall off is just going to be steeper, so that you can't like push like a 150 like in a cross map engagement anymore, because it'll just be a steeper fall off.
That's how I'm reading it as well. I have to agree.
Yeah. So, it is what it is. I think that is maybe a good change in the like huge scale of things, because it gives 140s a place in the meta. In the sense that like there'll finally be a reason to not use a 150 or 180 on mouse and keyboard, because you can't just push the range infinitely as long as you can see the person.
Right.
But it definitely is an overall nerf to hand cannons. I would have rather. This seems like a really weird way to make 140s relevant. I would rather them have like given a small boost to 140s instead of like neutering 150s.
A boost how though?
The neuter thing is just a weird play.
Well, the reason that this is, because damage fall off is just going to be more exaggerated. There's like finally going to be a reason to use a 140 over a 150. Like for those at range engagements when you're on PC. It definitely makes
that already exists though. The 140 range is really high. Like you can be in scout range right now with a 140.
With the current damage fall off.
Right. I said right now.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a little different. They're definitely going to be able to stretch further than 150s, but you definitely can't challenge a scout with a hand cannon on controller, and I think that the more like controller hand cannon range is going to become more of the norm for like PvP hand cannon range.
Okay. Machine guns also getting a PvE damage buff, and then also increasing the effects of damage range fall off.
Which is great because in Gambit, like it's all you see is machine guns. So if they can't cross map you with machine guns, it's great.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what that means though. Like that could just mean that like the faster firing machine guns are the ones like getting hurt by that. I don't know what their intended range for machine guns is. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if there's at least more fall off from it, that's even better because it's going to be a lot harder to get destroyed by it as quickly when you're across the map.
But the range on like a hammerhead is like so high, you know.
Right.
So
I
don't know.
Even maybe their range is, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Pulse rifles are getting around the same buff for PvE. Again, I think all these PvE damage buffs are just to compensate for that the change to miners for the precision modifier. Right. Range fall off for this as well. Archetype specific damage changing for rapid fire pulses and high impact pulses. Those are sizable. I mean, not like. It's like
cutting down on the dad meta at least a little bit.
No, it's actually a buff. Because if you look, rapid fires are doing 14 to the body, 23.8 to the head. Previously 13, 21.4. So
yeah,
that's more damage than they used to do.
Again, a pulse was another one of those weapons which on M&K you could push, especially the low recoil ones, across the fucking map. You know.
So they're giving it more damage but less range.
Yeah.
The scouts. This is something that I find weird because they're basically just doing the same PvE damage buff to the scouts. They said how they really wanted to buff scouts and make it more relevant. They're not going to be relevant. It's going to be exactly the same. They've done nothing to it besides that small buff to PvE.
Oh.
So I don't know. Sidearms, same story, PvE damage buff. Snipers, huge PvE buff. 20 or 47% against miners, but no one uses snipers against miners, and 20% for others. And then they made an adjustment to exotic sniper perks, just I guess so that Darcy and Whisper don't like go out the window for how much DPS that they're able to pull off. I still think, even considering that Whisper is probably going to be the meta next season because it's going to be the only weapon that can auto reload, regardless of the ammo situation.
Yeah, it's just gonna. I feel like PvE is gonna be kind of like ammo hunt mode. It's just gonna literally be like, how much heavy can we hoard for this single moment?
Yeah.
And that gets really annoying. That's not exactly the way I want to feel like when I'm in a raid. I don't want to feel like I don't have my whole arsenal at my disposal because constantly scrounging for ammo. I think if ammo drops worked in a more fulfilling way, you know, maybe if ammo drops were like part of a boss battle, like you got chests at certain points. We've had that before. We had that a little bit, I think, in Wrath. What raid was it? Some raid where you got green ammo drops in the middle of an encounter.
Oh, it was Wrath. Yeah, there was the green ammo box when you were doing the big kind of train fight when it's coming towards you.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
ammo box, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, like if you're gonna include that stuff in encounters, like that makes sense.
We have
like,
the raid banners.
Yeah, but that's like at the start of what could be a 16-minute encounter, right. And it just, if this is the system that they want to go for, then we need some kind of like ammo inclusion so that we're not just like scraping around and then
There
end
will
up
be finishing
DPSing a
moves.
boss with.
There
There
will
will
be
be
finishing
finishing.
moves they'll generate ammo for your whole team. So
Huffy, the animation
True.
change to hand cannons. Do you think that will have enough of an effect on Sunshot that you can actually see what the hell you're shooting at?
I
plus more
think
bullets, so there's that.
Yeah,
if
I know
it does, dude, like you'll still be able to see everything way better with other hand cannons,
that.
you know?
That is such a
Yeah.
weird gun, dude.
Yeah, because like they're increasing the magazine size to 12, like Eddie was saying, but I can't use that thing. It bounces all over your screen. It's very
It's so
distracting.
bouncy.
Flashes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it flashes.
yeah.
The flash doesn't help at all. But yeah,
Um,
like we were saying, like there will be finishing moves that will create ammo for your whole team. So I feel like that might end up being the strat is, everyone takes a turn doing finishing moves and then it's just a pile of ammo, like you were saying, but that, that sucks that it has to be that way, but that will probably end up being the strat.
okay.
Yeah. We'll
s-
see. But anyway, hey, you guys are really cute. I gotta run to work.
yeah.
Love you.
Love ya.
Guys, hubby hates us and he's got to go back to the CIA. I'm sorry.
All right, so just moving along, submachine guns, like I was saying, are getting a PvE damage buff, which is like kind of unbelievable to me. 22.5% against minor and majors.
It's
Dude.
quite significant compared to everything else. That is really interesting.
And it includes majors, so it's like
yeah,
Recluse is just gonna shred
it's gonna melt
everything.
everything. Yeah, it's gonna be a melt machine, even more so.
I honestly can't even believe it. And Teraba and Huckleberry are getting a 10% buff on top of that in both PvE and PvP. So maybe
They are pretty
Teraba will be
underwhelming.
useful.
Yeah, it would be nice
Maybe.
because they are really underwhelming right now, and it would be nice
Right.
to actually be able to use them. Like if we're
Yeah.
getting pelted by bosses and stuff, Terra would be fantastic just to help shred through shit.
Right. So exotic specific changes, a lot of changes to Sweet Business. Hopefully this is useful for something. Huge magazine size increase. I guess because now we don't have riffs, so whatever.
I don't see 50 more bullets being more anything with that.
Right.
It's still gonna be a weird niche weapon that you're gonna get pissed off if you're getting shot at with that. Yeah, it's just weird.
15% PvE damage on top of the auto rifle buff. So okay.
Could be.
High cal were replaced with armor piercing. I don't know what difference that's gonna make really.
A touch more damage, I think, really.
Yeah, they reiterate the PvP damage change here specifically. And then weapon no longer requires you to be firing when you pick up ammo to have it automatically reload. So
nice.
I didn't even know that was a thing actually, but it's been a long time since I used that. So
I honestly say I don't bother with that gun.
Graviton Lance PvE damage increased by 30% on top of the pulse rifle buff. That is
for PvE, that's great. Like that actually might be a kind of fun clearing ads with it now.
Right, and then you get the ad clearing like little balls that drop everywhere too, which is pretty crazy. The Sunshot we already talked about. Vigilance Wing is also getting a 25% PvE damage buff, but I just cannot see using that in PvE. That's weird.
It's meant to be a PvP weapon, especially with the perks it has. For it to be a PvE anything is weird.
Crimson got a huge PvP buff. I mean, 19 damage to the body, previously 13. 30 damage to the head, previously 24.
We'll see a lot more Crimsons for a little bit.
Jesus, that is going to be like, I don't know, maybe it'll like be affected by the range fall off significantly,
hopefully,
but
with what they've bumped it to, hopefully.
Because that's a, let me think, 30 precision, and how many are in the burst? 3?
3, yeah, it's a 3 burst one.
You can do 100 damage with one headshot if you land all 3 of the burst to the head. So you could 2-tap with the Crimson.
Could be interesting.
And then it'll heal you.
Yeah. Whoa, no, one-eyed mass Crimsons. No.
Yeah.
That's fucked up. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, because I mean, well, we haven't seen any armor exotics changing in here, but
true. I guarantee they're gonna touch Lion Mask. They have to.
I don't know that I guarantee anything at this point, because
Fair, yeah.
I hope that we get more changes, because they only talked about Void subclass changes and well. They didn't talk anything about the Solar or Arc subclasses at all.
They'll have to. I'd like them to at least.
Yeah. Bottom Tree Striker, is that just chilling? Gonna stay the same?
It certainly can't, but it might.
Apparently Merciless was completely missing the aim assist stat.
Which is weird.
Yeah. Memento Mori's getting another nerf. That's fine.
Yeah.
Noble rounds should apply their buff to allies more reliably. Was it not applying? That's
they tracked kind of weird, and just the way it applied. It was a little off. It makes sense if they're gonna make it a little bit better. That's fine.
And I don't know what this means. Serve the colony now functions as auto loading holster, so it's like more of an auto reload thing.
Yeah, okay. I'd consider.
Subsistence, reduce the impact of this perk on total reserves. Okay, I've never used Subsistence, so I'm not sure 100% what that does.
I've used it rarely, and I can't honestly say with any certainty what difference that's going to make. So,
Swashbuckler got a little bit of a buff because it'll activate if you use the Ball Lightning Warlock from a distance melee.
Which is great.
Yeah.
It's fun.
So that's cool. Grave Robber now activates when getting a kill with ranged melee. Okay,
Which is great. Yeah.
Same story. 1-2 punch is getting a nerf so that you can't solo Riven with.
It should. It was
1-2
pretty
punch.
fucked up. Like they did not expect us to do what we did with it. So yeah, no, I respect
that. So Reckoning is getting patched again next week. It's going to be even easier, which I find kind of weird. The only problem with it right now is the stomp mechanic. If you get stomped off the bridge, it already feels really easy. So I don't know. This is weird.
it is what it is at this point. I mean, the fact that they realized they fucked up so much with that entire, thing, right? Like the fact that they're at least making it somewhat more accessible, fine. It is what it is at this point.
It's gonna be.
I'll be able to see it go.
They're removing the negative modifiers. You're getting only positive modifiers. I don't know. I'm shredding through it right now. I wish that they would have buffed the loot a little bit more. Like tier 3 should be just a guaranteed weapon, period. Not like 1 in 2 chance, and then you can do whatever you want with tier 2, whatever. Because it's already like if you're farming for one specific thing, a 1 in 5 chance is already pretty low.
Yeah, I mean, more or less, yeah. Either way, Reckoning at this point can just they can delete it and I'd be happy.
They can delete it.
I don't give a shit about Reckoning. Just add the weapons to Gambit loot pool, which they really already are. So I don't know. I don't know what the point of it is. They need to get rid of that shit.
Yeah.
It served its purpose for the whole storyline for Drifter and all that stuff. But other than that, I'm good. You can get rid of it.
So we've got 2 more TWABs before Shadowkeep comes out. What do you expect to see?
I definitely expect to see some sort of armor, patch notes, at least some sort of details, and possibly a raid trailer. Other than
exotic armor you're talking about.
Well, yeah, exotic armor. Yeah. And raid trailer. I'm expecting exotic armor next TWAB, raid trailer the one after that, and then we'll be in Shadowkeep.
I'm really hoping for more subclass stuff. Again, like I don't want it to just be Void. Like that Void was not even like the biggest problem. It was like the Bottom Tree Strikers and Dawnblades. That's what needs to get adjusted. Now, I have hope.
I'm not expecting it. I'd like to see it.
I have hope because people who played at PAX West said things like the Dawnblade Burst Glide was slowed down. You can't go like a Mach 100 anymore.
Well, that fucking sucks.
So he said like Triple Rec was saying like you can still go very fast, but you have to build up the speed. You can't just instantly go like 100 miles an hour.
Okay, that makes sense then. That's fair. Because from one jump going fucking insanely fast, it is a bit much. I enjoy doing it, but yeah, it's a bit much.
But we've heard nothing about that, so I just worry that Like, why haven't they mentioned anything about that kind of stuff? If it's in a test build, I don't know. I hope that there's more. Like, but even with the super changes where you can like snipe them now and stuff, like having that bottom tree striker be able to last for 30 plus seconds is just ridiculous.
They may honestly be working out like the last few kinks in a few of those things, and are going to probably give us the patch notes day one on everything.
Yeah.
There's no real reason for them to give us everything ahead of time. We would like it, sure, but they're gonna have to save something for day one. And
I mean, to counter
they're-
that, there's no real reason for them to hide that information either.
no, there's no reason for them to hide it. But if they're still working on fine tuning little adjustments for day one, like most games do, like most games put out a day one patch, right? So there's no reason that they wouldn't have a last minute thing they're trying to adjust on something that they're just going to tell us day one that will probably be done like a couple days before day one. So
right. So I listened to Luke Smith went on a podcast this week called We Have Cool Friends.
I heard about that. I didn't watch it though.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. It was about an hour and 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
And it just like was really cool to watch like the human perspective. I mean, you're not going to learn too much about Destiny as a game, but like what goes into it and like his vision and passion for the game, it's honestly really fascinating to listen to if you're interested in that kind of thing, because one of the things we've talked about, this crunch problem like many times, and like the development challenges, and he just said like, look, I've like pretty much devoted my life to this game. He said, I've been working on this now since like 2010 or something, basically like right after Reach shipped.
Makes sense, yeah.
And he talks with people and when they hire people, and says things like, this is like the type of company we're so passionate about. We want you to be so passionate about this game that you would want something about the work you're doing engraved on your tombstone. Like, that is like legitimately how he feels about it. And he goes on to say like all the things he's proud of in his life, and like bringing the first raid to a first person shooter is like one of the things, so I don't know. It was just that was just like something that I found really awesome.
And that's why I usually try to when we're having these conversations, try to at least fight for him a little bit, because I know every single person there is so passionate about this game just as much as we are.
Right.
And sometimes visions don't line up, and sometimes you can't execute the things you want to execute when you want to execute them. Like, shit happens, right? And then I want so badly for this game to be good. They want so badly for this game to be good, and I appreciate that.
One of the heartbreaking things, and it's not like really pity, but like they kind of like asked him about the launch of Destiny 2 and like the impact it had on his life and stuff, and in like a humble way, without sounding too self-important, he really kind of said like spiraling depression, like just for like a year straight of just coming home from work after 12, 14 hours in the office.
Black out his Twitter for like a year, dude.
Right.
I respect that. Yeah.
And just like going right home and like not talking to anybody, and man,
when you fucked something up that hard, and it was a lot of not in your hands sometimes too, I can understand that, and I can see that, and I respect the man for it, and the fact that he's got control of it now and he's trying to do the best he can with it now. I'm happy. I want to see it.
And stuck it out through that time. I
mean, yeah, he could have left. He could have fucking left.
Yeah. So it is something like, if you guys out there are listening and you want to kind of know behind the scenes, like how a lot of things work. There's a lot of details in there about how they like interpret data, and how they work in the office, and how they're reluctant to celebrate things, and just really fascinating details about how it works at Bungie. It's again not something where you're going to learn like intrinsic details about Destiny and how it works, but like if you want to dive into the details of like sort of these devs' like personal experience, then that's really eye-opening stuff. So
support the devs that give us something to give a shit about,
Yeah. On another note, I need to do my Anarchy this week. I really, really need it to drop so that next week I can do my solo Shattered Throne. Because if you guys want to do a solo flawless Shattered Throne, next week is the time to do it. Because
before all the nerfs and shit.
Man, when those nerfs happen, it's going to be just about impossible.
It's going to be rough as shit. I wouldn't say impossible, but it's going to be fucking hard.
Flawless? Like,
oh, yeah.
Anything consistent enough to flawless? Like, I just can't imagine doing it without, like, having something, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, there's going to be a lot of situations where having that instant reload or something is going to make the difference.
Right. There's no raid banners. I mean, how can you possibly, like, you can't use Whisper anymore because you'll run out of ammo. You'll have no well. Dude, I have no idea. I have no idea how people are going to do that going forward.
They'll find ways. I mean, there's definitely ways, I'm sure. It's just not going to be easy.
I'm really excited for Shadowkeep. Like, yeah. It's getting closer. Can you imagine it'd be coming out in a couple days from now if it didn't get delayed?
Yeah. Trust me, I know.
Are you playing Borderlands?
Oh no, I literally just pre-purchased Shadowkeep today, so I'm not buying Borderlands anytime soon.
Well, I'm not being negative about it, but I've been watching people play, and I'm like, man, game looks like Borderlands 2.
And that's kind of what I noticed too. And it's like, if I want to play a Borderlands game, I'll go finish number 2. I'm good. I'm not bothering with it right now. It looks good. It looks fun, but it doesn't look like anything that I want to invest that much time into.
Yeah. And like, I get it for the diehard Borderlands people who just want more and more Borderlands, but I'm just looking at it going, I paid $5 for Borderlands 2, and this is like a slight improvement for $60. I'm gonna wait.
It's like, yeah, there's more story, this and the other, but it's a single player game.
If I had nothing to play
now and be happy,
yeah, if I had nothing to play, I'd probably be happy to jump into that. And realistically, like, my Destiny time right now is not like super fun. I'm literally just doing prep work that is very boring. But 2 weeks left. I don't want to jump into like an immersion experience like that before Shadowkeep.
No, it's not fair to yourself, really, because you're just going to get sucked into it, and it's not worth it.
Yeah. $60 not worth unless the end game's good. I mean, it might be good. Some people like it, but for me, Borderlands Endgame has never felt super compelling because all it is repeating the story at higher difficulties with better weapons.
It seems more repetitive than Destiny Endgame at this point.
Right, because there's no raids, there's nothing like that. It's literally just replaying the story, and like they're gonna have DLC content and stuff, obviously, but I don't like that replaying the story stuff. Like, I get bored of it.
Yeah, and if I want to do that, I'm gonna play Destiny. So fuck it.
That's all I really have for this week, man.
Yeah, same.
So, thanks everybody for coming in.
For you audio listeners, be sure to check us out on Twitch. Rect Expert at Twitch, and Eddie182 on Twitch, and Huffy OD on Twitch.
Yep.
Guys,
and
do it.
This will be the last week of us having the recording troubles with Wits and Gigs, and he should have his stuff back up and running by next week, so we can restore the former audio quality.
Yeah. So,
I really appreciate all you guys being here. Don't forget to tell all of your friends, family, everybody you know who plays Destiny about this podcast. We need to get the word out there. We're always looking to make improvements, so drop by our Twitch channels and let us know what you want to see in the future. For
if you have any
this
questions
content.
for us, anything you want to hear us talk more about, more in depth, please, Twitter, Twitch channels, what have you, let us know.
We'll see you next week. Peace.
Bye.